Welcome to the Quantum Healing Oracle. Today we're going to do a mini recap on some of the energies that I've been bringing through in this channel the last few weeks. And then we're going to do a general reading for the collective and just ask what we need to know now. If you haven't tuned in to my videos on the solar eclipse and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction and the lunar eclipse, you'll find a link for all those videos in the description box. If you're new here, please like and subscribe. It really does help this channel be seen by more people and create the opportunity for this information to help them. Please only take what resonates. This information is just my interpretation, and a lot of it's infused with my own personal experience. So everyone's on their own journey. There's multiple paths available to you, and ultimately it's up to you to choose the path that works best for you. So in a sense, how I would recap this energy is that the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is really giving us an opening and an understanding of our potential to recognize how we're able to shift into different parallel realities using quantum shifting, quantum jumping, and vibrational resonance. Again, this is all information in a deep dive in my Saturn-Neptune 3-part series. And so that seems all fine and good, except there's a lot of nuances to understanding how to be more consciously in touch with our frequency and why our frequency may fluctuate and resonate at different vibrations. And so there's been a large focus on understanding how our personal patterns and the conditions that we have adapted ourselves to in childhood operate as limiting belief structures and operate as these running programs that are not just so easy to change and to stop. And so essentially what we have is we have this quantum field of potential that's opening up so wide that says, hey, you can be anything you want to be, you can step into whichever reality that you choose. However, this conditioned programming is kind of pulling us back into the repetition of those programs, and that process is getting stronger because our feeling sense is that ability to choose new potentials and new energies is so strong, it makes it feel stronger, the gravity that's pulling us to repeat those patterns and those conditions from the past, which is really just highlighting and helping us to discern what those patterns are and recognize where we actually do have a choice to make a shift. A lot of my channel is about really understanding what empowerment and authenticity is. You know, these are words that are commonly used in the spiritual community, but I feel that part of my transmission and offering is to really dissect it and get a total picture on what true empowerment is, what it feels like, and what authenticity is and what it feels like. So as far as the astrology goes going forward, we have all the personal planets, which during the time of the eclipse were moving very close to the sun. They're now moving through Pisces, through that same territory in the chart that Saturn was moving through as it was aligning with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the beginning of Aries. So the way I see over the next several weeks is that each of the personal planets is going through some of the lessons and understandings that Saturn's been trying to teach us. It's almost like Saturn is giving us the broad overview of the lessons and showing us kind of the structure of what is available. But as the personal planets go through that territory, they each need to demonstrate and embody and choose that they understand how Saturn is teaching us to align with that new path or that new life or the new energies that are available. And so again, all those inner planets just represent the very personal parts of our human personality, and each one of them has to form its own alignment with these new energies in order to fully ground it, fully embody it, and then have our visions and our inspirations and our choices all in alignment and activate the strongest flow of our free will. Because as I've come to know it, we do have free will, but as long as we're still operating from a strong conditioning, it's harder to choose anything outside of that. And so we're kind of learning how to let those conditions and patterns and beliefs go so we can really broaden the sense of what our free will is capable of. And there's also this element of really aligning our free will with the free will of our soul, with the free will of Mother Earth consciousness, with the free will of spirit. So we're aligning our choices with the highest and best good of all these macroscopic parts of ourselves, that we're all coming into alignment, and that will is funneling and channeling through a very beneficial and benefic way of moving. And there's a lot of conflict in that because we've been operating under this conditioned programming, deferring to external authority and living in kind of a disempowered way. And so for us to really shift out of those programs and into this new level of empowerment, there's kind of a conflict that's taking place. That's the conflict of the old energy and the new energy. And we see that playing out in the planet, but really it's playing out inside of ourselves. That's why we see the reflection of conflict in the world, because the conflict is happening inside of that programming and that conditioning, that one part of us wants to continue to move that way, and the other part of us is ready to move forward into the new energy in the new world. And so we all have to reconcile that and work with that process in our own way. And that's where I really believe that Spirit comes in and offers much support and guidance and help from every angle to give you whatever it is that's relevant for you, that will help you move through that process and understand that, this isn't about saving the world and healing the world and making the world a better place. It's really just about reconciling with your own potential and your own alignment with yourself. And when that happens, the world will naturally reflect that alignment. So stay tuned. I'll bring some more astrology updates about these personal planets as they're moving through this Saturn-Neptune point and how that may reflect with each of those energies. So now we'll take a look at the tarot and see what energies want to come up here. Anchoring in, energy medicine, body temple, vibrational healing. I'm sorry, defenselessness, righting past wrongs, uprooting. Assertion, the sun in Aries. Discernment and awareness. Okay. So this collective energy, the way that this feels for me is that, again, it's kind of like we've been looking at our spiritual evolution and the ascension of humanity in kind of a macroscopic way. And what's happening now is we've learned a lot of these lessons at a higher spiritual level, but we're needing to actually make certain choices and ground that energy into our physical body, into our physical reality, into our everyday choices. And so I like to say this is where the rubber meets the road. Like, it's not enough just to be super spiritual and understand all these high spiritual truths. We have to ground that spiritual perspective and demonstrate that we operate differently when infused with it. And so I kind of see that even going back as far as the 60s and 70s, where there was this huge boom in spiritual awakening, we've been collecting so much different spiritual information, knowledge, perspectives, understandings, that now is really the time where it's, there's like the roots here. This is the sitting in meditation. This is the rooting into the earth. This is the making peace with the past. This is the grounding all of this in and making it real. And yet there is a discernment process to this. There is being aware that in every moment we have the potential of either amplifying and continuing that conditioned programming, or if we're aware that we have a new choice, we can actively choose something different. And that's for each of us to understand. But this assertion, this sun in Aries, this is really the individuation of the energy and light of the self. I am here to assert who I am and bring this most empowered and authentic part of myself into this world now, and demonstrate as living my human life what the shift in consciousness is all about, what the energies of the new world are. I experience them. I'm watching these changes taking place within myself, and I'm taking action and demonstrating and offering back in service my expression. And often this is what I come back to has been very surprising, is one of the most powerful aspects of embodiment and showing ourselves that we've integrated all these deep spiritual truths is our expression. When we find that we can express ourselves in new ways that we weren't able to in the past, whether we were holding ourselves back from fear or doubt, or just sometimes we create these identities about being a spiritual person or being a loving person, and we express that because we think that would be the ideal form of ourselves. But the most powerful expression we can have is just our authentic self, which is how we feel in the moment. Doesn't always feel good, but it can feel how it feels, and it can express what it wants to express, and there's fluidity and a confidence in that. There's no self-censoring in just allowing yourself to say or do or act in whatever way feels appropriate in the moment, and to let that assertion be your experience of bringing yourself into the world, instead of tiptoeing around and trying to be careful to not ruffle feathers and make sure that you make decisions correctly. This is a confidence of self-assertion. But it does come with this kind of knowing who you are, being really grounded in your sense of self and your body, and also this, writing past wrongs. I had this very strong astral experience in a dream the other night, and there were people who represented patterns from my past that came up, and I kind of told them when they came up, like, thank you, but I'm not interested in continuing with this kind of relational dynamic anymore. And there was a door, and I told them to leave. And when they did, I went into Ho'oponopono just automatically. And I do live in Hawaii, and I am familiar with Ho'oponopono, which if you're not familiar with it, you can look it up. But it's a way of essentially coming to peace with the patterns and choices and ways of being in the past that are resolving and reaching balance. And I was surprised that I found myself automatically going into this, and I felt myself doing it in a way that was different than I interpreted it to be, especially the part where it says, "I'm sorry, please forgive me." That was a very internal feeling. Like I was saying that to a deep part of myself, apologizing to the part of myself that didn't understand that I had engaged in these things that weren't authentic to me and that weren't empowering for my true self, and I didn't know. And I experienced a lot of pain around those kinds of dynamics. So again, there is this deep humbling anchoring in of the light, but it needs to come through the forgiveness and through the deep clearing of all these dynamics that have come before, and truly make our peace with it, instead of just saying, I'm moving on from this pattern, I don't want this anymore. There's a difference between in the mind wanting to move beyond a pattern and truly, fully embodying the completion of moving beyond a pattern. And I just get a sense that that's the transitional stage that we're in humanity. We all know we want to walk away from the past, and we're done with those patterns of abuse and manipulation and all of the things that we've seen and experienced in our world, that we each need to make our own peace with that in a very deep and powerful way. That's maybe a little different for everyone, but it does highly come through this ability to understand, and this is that Virgo energy of discernment, to clearly identify what it is that you're being aware of, and then clearly discern where you want to place your energy, what values you want to empower, what choices that you want to make. Okay, so we have the center of this reading is the Three of Wands and the Five of Pentacles. Okay, so what I'm feeling from the center of this reading is that this process I'm talking about of grounding in more light and becoming more embodied in understanding how we want to move forward. That is what true integrity is. True integrity is when you know that you're in alignment with yourself because you feel that you're in alignment with yourself. And one of the things that I've learned since I've been reading this tarot is that in India, they use the word virtue differently than we do in America. In India, they talk about virtue as almost being this magical quality that happens when you're in alignment with nature itself, when you're in alignment with the energy of the universe, that your choices and your energy align with the choices and the energy of the universe, and it's like flowing down a river. And if you were to paddle upstream, you're going to put a lot of effort into trying to get somewhere, but if you paddle downstream, you're going to go a lot further with the same amount of effort. So they talked about integrity and virtue as being this alignment, so that the energy that you put into the movement is being supported and aligned with nature in such a way. But because it's being aspected by the Five of Pentacles, that's really showing a lot of instability here. It's almost as if you can feel the direction you're going in. You know that this is where the energy of the universe is flowing, yet it's destabilizing and really pulling apart the structures that we've leaned on to be supported thus far. You know, that's what's so challenging about this quantum leap we're making and this spiritual jump, so to speak, is we know we want to step into the new world, but we know in order to do that, we have to let go of the old world. And the old world is really what has made us feel so safe and secure. Even if it's been dysfunctional and painful, that's the battle that's happening inside of ourselves, is we're afraid to let go of what we've relied on for our support and our security. But we know how much we want to step into this new way of being. And so we're kind of like 1 foot in one world, 1 foot in the other world at this time. And that's okay, because that's us using our awareness to understand that we have this choice, and no one's forcing us to make this choice any faster than we're ready. But we will make this choice to shift into the new world. And we face that feeling of not being supported by the old world anymore. And that's okay. We have to let those feelings come up and just keep moving forward, because we know our integrity is in moving forward. All right, so here we have the foundation of the reading, Ace of Wands and the Eight of Wands. Okay, so this is a lot of spiritual inspiration. This is a lot of that fire energy that is here to say, okay, I'm getting the download, I'm getting the transmission, I understand what it is that I'm here to do, I understand what I want to do, I understand what inspires me, and I can take action on that. I can move forward on that. And so whenever we build a strong foundation in a reading, this is what we've been developing in ourselves that can help us through the changes and the challenges that are coming. So it's almost as if saying in this reading that we know that the river is pushing us into this new world, and we know it's destabilizing the old world, but I'm going to rest on this foundation of my own connection to my own inspiration, and feeling that this is an exciting movement of spiritual energy moving here. Like, this isn't us just, haphazardly deciding to go move to another town. like this is literally the consciousness choosing to shift into another dimension of reality. And that's very powerful and very powerfully supported on many multidimensional and interdimensional levels. And that's why we feel so excited when we feel how much potential creativity and change is available right now. I get a couple clarifying cards on this. We have Ten of Wands and King of Wands. Okay, so yeah, all fire. This is all fire energy here. The King of Wands is showing that this is a plan, that this creative movement and how it's connected to our inspiration is a creative plan. How this is you see, he got the wand and he's showing the plan to the cat in the picture here, but this is us knowing this is the plan. We knew before we would incarnate here. We are aware that it's happening now, and we're being guided and directed by the plan. Yet, there is this kind of feeling that this is a big ask. It's a big energy that needs to be shifted. And we feel that as it feels a little bit like a burden, but it also feels that it's allowing us to try things that we've never tried before. You know, that's the nature of quantum expression, in my understanding, is that you can have all these different paths available to you and you can choose any single one of them. Because if you choose one and you get the result of what that was like and it didn't work out the way you thought, then you just choose another one. Like, the universe is in the business of recreating simulations of choices. So if you make one choice and it didn't go the way you wanted to, the universe will reboot that simulation and you can take a different path and you can find out what goes down that path. And so there's always this, like, another path and another way of trying what you didn't try. And it's like, through trial and error, the more times you experiment with what doesn't work, it always opens up this new idea of, like, oh, maybe we'll try this time. So there is this element of that, which is like, God, we've tried so many things. It's kind of gotten us there, but not really. There is this element of what's the thing that we haven't quite tried yet. And that can be exciting. Okay, so here we have the future energies that are coming. We have Temperance card, Art, and the Ace of Swords. All right, so this is very much the clarity of understanding the challenge. This is looking at it saying, like, okay, I understand what my patterns and programs are. I see how they're limiting me and moving forward. I see where my excited inspiration wants to go. Like, I see the challenge and the conflict within me. And I understand what it is that I need to work towards or choose to step more and more into this new pathway. And yet, the benefit of understanding how there's this conflict is that you honor the tension between those two sides as being important in navigating and making that shift. It's almost like we always need contrast in order to give a stronger clarity to what it is we prefer and what it is that we would choose. And so the Art card is really understanding you will look at this contrast over and over and over again, and you will get clearer and clearer and clearer about how these circumstances, both the ones that you enjoy and appreciate and the ones that you don't enjoy and appreciate as much, are both working together to give a clarity and a clear focus on how to move forward and release what's no longer serving and what's no longer wanted. And really, it's just about stepping more and more into the life that you prefer and to be who you prefer to be. Okay, so clarifying the Page of Pentacles, this is where this is kind of, you know, an adventure. And I like that there's a connection between these two cards, because this is the option that we haven't necessarily tried, and this is the exploration of, like, okay, you know, we're out, we're exploring, we're trying new things. I understand how it feels to make the choice that feels best to me, but I'm still working with this tension and this polarity. So there's a lot of experimentation in this process right now. And it's almost going back to that energy of integrity and virtue and saying, like, if you're in the river and you're experimenting with which direction to go, you can try to go upstream and feel what that feels like. You can try to go to the left. You can try to go to the right. But as soon as you make those first two strokes going downstream, you're going to feel that that's downstream. So that's kind of what I sense, is use your life as an open experimentation to try different things, and you'll feel the movement when you've hit the movement that's pulling you forward, because everything is going to pull you forward. It just it just feels like there's a lot of tension in this, not really feeling clear about the direction of moving forward, but knowing you're moving forward. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so here we have the internal influences, Four of Cups, and the external influences, Four of Pentacles. So this is great. Both influence cards are fours. Fours are very strong, very stable. The internal influences is showing this is a strong emotional foundation that you're moving from. The external influences is showing you that this is a strong physical formation that's supporting you. So the way I like to relate with the Four of Cups is, especially after we go through certain emotional upheavals and certain emotional challenges, the Four of Cups is like, okay, I don't feel so emotionally dysregulated now. And you can appreciate when you reach that place where you're like, I feel more emotionally stable and I feel that I can make my decisions from this place that feels supported. So to me, it's important to give thanks and always give that positive feedback loop of like, I'm in a good, emotionally stable place right now. And that's kind of what it feels like internally, the ability to feel emotionally stable. The external is this, I'm going to bring it back to this discernment energy that, to me, the way the Four of Pentacles, what it teaches us about physical reality is that everything you engage in is either going to amplify your energy and make you more connected to yourself, or it's going to drain your energy and make you feel less connected to yourself. And so our job is to just move through life and be open to see what life brings to us, and then feel and choose, oh, this person, I feel my energy amplified, I feel more myself, that is beneficial. This person, this situation, I feel myself being drained, I feel I'm not fully connected to myself, and just be really clear that these options that come up in our reality are meant to be chosen, and we can, when we're finally attuned with our energy field, choose only the relationships, the jobs, the circumstances, anything that amplifies our energy and makes us feel more like ourselves. And everything else we say, no thank you, that's not for me right now. Okay. Here's the gateway. This is what the archetype that's wanting to be embodied that will lead to the outcome is the Six of Swords. And I always feel this strong connection with nature when it comes to the Six of Swords. I'm going to read this one a little bit differently because I get the sense that this has to do with understanding the new social identity that you're creating for yourself. I spoke a little bit about this in one of my previous videos, how the Aquarius energy is really about wanting to meet the needs of the whole. Like it's kind of like a humanitarian way of looking at things. So there's a way of like having your needs met, but there's a way in which your needs are met in conjunction with the needs of the community. And it's kind of everybody getting what they need and working together. And Mercury, when it's identifying, okay, what thought structures, what identities, what information is going to help me really connect to a social identity that will reflect back to me that the way I'm participating in my life is benefiting not only me, but is benefiting my community and the whole as well. And I talked a little bit about this in my, I think it was one of the Saturn-Neptune, the third part of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. The shift from the cross of planning in human design to the cross of the sleeping phoenix is we're redefining how we relate with the whole. That in the cross of planning, the last 400 years, it's been very much about community structures, government structures, economic structures, feeling that we needed those larger structures within the community in order for the people to benefit and to thrive. And so we played roles to support those structures because we were just experimenting and experiencing how building those structures was really allowing our communities to expand and to thrive in new ways. But now the collective energy is shifting into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is more of an individuated mode of self-expression. Instead of looking at just your small community or your state or your country, you're looking at the entire collective energy of humanity. And you use your own individualized gifts and talents and abilities and inspirations, and you know that if you step fully into the truth of who you are, you can offer that back to the whole. And it goes beyond just meeting the needs of the tribe. It goes beyond just participating in the government. It's at an energetic and almost a multidimensional level. You're serving all of creation by being your unique self. And so that's a social identity. And so this gateway is, I think, highlighting the fact that we're experimenting right now with a new social identity, with how do we connect with the part of ourselves that can benefit the whole. but not only benefit the whole, make me feel most like myself, and then express myself as I'm in service to the whole. And how that's, in order to step into that new social identity, that's, again, why all those patterns and programs need to be revised and integrated, because those keep us operating at a smaller capacity. They don't give us the choice and the options that we're having made available once we can understand that those patterns and programs don't serve us anymore. Okay, so now we have the outcome, which is the Emperor. I love this outcome because the Emperor is the creator of beneficial structures. You know, everything in creation has a structure built for it. The masculine builds the structure, and the feminine moves into the structure and expresses creativity. That's the creative partnership between the masculine and the feminine. But in order for that feminine to flow in and feel safe and feel the containment of the power of its creativity, there needs to be beneficial, strong structures in place. And so when I talk about this is kind of just referring to like our own lives. Like we're building these structures in our own lives, whether they be beneficial spiritual practices or body practices, meditation practices, doing things that we love to do. It's bringing it back to this discernment of understanding all the available choices we have every day, and feeling when we make those choices that really feel beneficial to us, we're strengthening those structures in our lives. We're building a life where we feel supported in our expression and in our expansion. And this also takes this energy out of the hands of like, I need to be supported by my government, or I need to be supported by my community in certain ways, or even I need to be supported by my family, and say, I'm the one in charge of building these healthy structures for myself so I can feel supported by spirit, and I can go forward and bring the fullness of myself into this world. And so that's, again, we're kind of redefining this idea of like following external authority through the cross of planning and working towards, deferring to external authority, and really stepping into a powerful internal authority in the cross of the sleeping phoenix, where we know who we are and we know what to express and how to express who we are. We feel how powerful it is in expressing who we are. Okay, so I've got a couple more cards. We'll just take a look at the cave. 8 of Earth Guardians and Collective Awakening. Okay, so what this layer of the reading is saying is how this stage of the collective awakening is that we're working on it. We're working on making this shift. And this isn't like we're coming out on the world stage with a completed project yet. We're still working within our own systems, within our own reconfiguration and recalibration of our understanding of our awareness and how we operate. This is all happening at an internal, very deep internal level. And to just keep going at it, keep working at it. And I say this often, but one of the best things we can do if we find ourselves being pulled into the reflections of the external world is to, one, recognize, okay, my awareness is being pulled into the external world and I'm feeling blank. I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling blame, I'm feeling hatred, I'm feeling not being supported, I'm feeling whatever, uneasy, anxious. To recognize when our attention is being pulled into the external world, and then understand what emotions are coming up when we focus on the external world and we feel we're viewing things that seem so big and out of our control. Because it's the emotion that we're experiencing that we actually do have control over. Because we bring it into our inner space, in our inner workshop, and that's where we can start to understand that those strong emotional responses we're having to the external world are little indicators and pointing back to that conditioning and that programming and the unresolved emotions that we experienced growing up. That's kind of the name of the game, is all this destabilized, like, I don't know if I feel safe because of what's going on. That's not because it's happening right now. That's because it's been happening since childhood. And to each person in a different way, but it's the same idea. We didn't feel safe or supported or loved in a certain way during childhood. Those emotions were denied, not understood fully then. They come up when it's time to let those patterns and those conditioned programs go. And that's the way we do this work, is that we can look at anything in the external world, not saying turn a blind eye or be Pollyanna about it, but if you find your attention being drawn into that world in that way, use the emotions it brings up, move that energy within your own system, and then understand how that's the way you can let go of those limiting beliefs and those conditioned programs. You'll find the new choice will pop up. You'll find the integrity and the virtue will pop out of the alchemy that's created when you work with the parts of you that still feel disempowered in that way. And so that's kind of where this part of this reading, I feel like, is talking about, is we are going through a very strong collective awakening, but it does require a deep connection with that inner space and understanding how much that is connected to what we're experiencing out there. Okay, so the last card we have is this is the Fairies Oracle, and this is the Fawn. 35. I'm going to read from the book on this one. 35. The Fawn, understanding the nature of nature. Natural wisdom, natural magic. The merry, irrepressible fawn dancing in the garden, frolicking in the woods, playing in the meadows, sings out, "Come, dance with me." It is he who knows the secrets of nature. He knows where the robin's nestings are hidden, where the mice lurk, who lives down that rabbit burrow, and where the pixies like to dance. He teaches us to understand, appreciate, and express the part of ourselves that dances in the moonlight with the fairies, sings to the dawn stars with the birds, and hums with the blossoming flowers. This is also the part of us that plants seeds with a loving pat and says, "Bless you and grow," and provides healing energy for doing just that. No fuss, no bother, just intention and natural human magic. Natural magic is simple. We're full of it. And the more we are true to our own nature, the more we have access to our own magic. When we are caught up in believing in limitations imposed by ourselves or our culture, we inhibit the flow of energy, which is the melody of ecstasy's song of the cosmos as it sweeps through us. Opening ourselves back up to that song can be a long and complex business once we have closed down in some way. It requires a great deal of thought and self-observation, and perhaps also the help of others in the form of formal therapy or simple friendship. However, the process of opening is made easier and more gentle if we allow Mama Nature and our own natural magic to help. Spending time in our gardens, our parks, our forests, and open spaces help us to reconnect, but so does growing herbs and flowers and scented geraniums in pots in our windows. So does looking at the stars, observing the state of the sky, and listening to the wind. If it helps, we simply observe the natural processes and changes around us. So this has been a huge part of my own exploration of understanding that my authentic nature, who I feel most connected to in being my own natural self, it just has a sense of itself. It has a sense of being. It has a natural form of expression. And when we look at Mother Nature on this planet and we see how many distortions and how many things have been playing out that have been kind of destroying the forests and polluting the oceans, and we've been seeing our natural world in decline, has been that reflection, that external reflection that our own authentic inner nature has been denied and disconnected, and we don't understand it, and we abuse it unconsciously. We take advantage of it. We use the energy that's available to us, but we use it in ways that doesn't actually align with that true authentic nature. And this is the quintessential crux of what we're here to do at this time. And this is why I was making that connection with virtue and understanding that when we understand how our energy is in alignment with our own nature, we feel that it's in alignment with all of nature. And we know that because it's an experience. It's a feeling of alignment. And it's so unfamiliar to be that aligned and that connected with it, that's what we have to explore. That's the new world that's coming back online. And so really what this card is talking about is the same thing that I've been sharing, of understanding how our past programs and conditions and limiting beliefs are how we were taught to shut down our authentic nature and our true self. And that all the challenges that we see arising in our personal world and in our external collective world are all designed to do the same thing, to get us to release, understand, make peace. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take on this misalignment. I didn't understand what I was doing. And to take so much responsibility for what's going on within and without, that it allows all forms of blame and judgment and shame and criticism to be rendered inert, because even those projections have just been a distraction from the task at hand, which is this internal reawakening to the authentic nature of self. So part of this challenge is to just clearly identify that and learn to take complete responsibility for our entire reality and see how all we're experiencing in our reality is to the degree that we're aligned with our true, beautiful, magical, powerful nature as creator beings, or not. And understand that this awakening and this evolution and this ascension is nothing more than the ability to fully become more present and connected to yourself and express yourself and understand, remember what that feels like, for it to feel so connected and powerful and free. And so this is the path, this is the journey that we're all on, and I honor each and every one of you for choosing this undertaking, and I'm here with you, and we're doing it together, and I'm grateful for all of you. I'm going to leave this reading here. Again, if you'd like to go deeper into these energies, I posted all my eclipse and Saturn Neptune videos from the last few weeks in the description box. If you'd like a personal reading from me, you'll find my email in the description box as well.